If you're frustrated and stuck and stagnant, I'm going to walk you through 3 simple steps to get unstuck and to get back to momentum in your life and business. Hey, y'all, I'm Trevor Mock. Welcome back to the podcast and the YouTube channel. I'm an entrepreneur who's been fortunate enough to build multiple companies in the 7 figures, 8 figures. And along the way, as entrepreneurs or just human beings, we get stuck, right? We don't always go up through this up into the right path constantly. It's up and down. And one of the things I've learned over the years is kind of almost a life hack, like a life operating system, is if we can find ways to make our downs shallower and less often and our ups longer and more often, then life becomes even better. And so I kind of made that part of my challenge, part of my journey over the last 10 to 15 years to say, anytime I'm feeling out and I'm stuck and I'm stagnant and I'm burnt out, I ask the question, why? Right? Why am I here? What things got me here? What are the steps that led to this? What happened a month ago or 3 months ago or 6 months ago, a year ago that might have been the boulder that started rolling that led to me being stuck, burnout, or stagnant? And then same thing. After I start to dig out of it, I start to discover, oh my gosh, what got me out of that thing? What was it that helped me this time? That I try to replicate those. I try to do them over and over again. And after going through those cycles over the years, I've learned 3 simple steps and four paths that are pretty darn common across every human being I've ever met, that are going to either lead you towards transformation and success or lead you towards frustration and failure. All right, guys. So let's dive in. I'm going to dive into the iPad now, and we're going to walk you through this model that I call the 4 paths. Okay. And if you've been following the Entrepreneur Freedom Formula podcast or here on my YouTube channel, you know that everything that I do on here, whether it's on the personal side or on the business and entrepreneur side, it's wrapped around what I call my Entrepreneur Freedom Formula. It's that model that we've shown here. If you're listening to the podcast version, head over to YouTube because I'm sharing right now on my screen the visual of the Entrepreneur Freedom Formula. But look me up. Just go to Google Entrepreneur Freedom Formula or go to YouTube Entrepreneur Freedom Formula, Trevor Mock, and you'll find it right here. But it all starts with purpose, and we're really looking for that freedom and impact. But what happens as an entrepreneur or just as a person in general is we go through these cycles, like I mentioned. And as an entrepreneur, I call it the 3-year turn and burn cycle. What happens almost every single time is at the point that you start to be an entrepreneur, or maybe you launch your new business or the next business, you have some point of inspiration. Okay, there's some point of inspo, there's some point of motivation that kicks you off, saying, "Man, I'm excited to go towards this thing." Okay, it could be a job you didn't like, an income ceiling you're trying to get out from underneath. It could be people telling you that you're not capable of doing something. It could be a business you built like I did back in 2010, 11, 12 that did well, but I'd grown to kind of resent the business. I was looking to get away from that business. You might be looking to escape a business as well, but it gives you that initial inspiration that gets you going. Right? You're focused, you're energized, you've got a vision, you've got a design, you're moving towards something. And maybe at that point you didn't recognize it, but you're at a spot that I'm going to introduce you here in a second in my 4 paths video. Maybe you're at the spot of frustration, but you don't know how you got there. Maybe you're at the spot of failure, but maybe you don't exactly know what decisions or indecisions led you there. And I'm going to help you see exactly what led you into those and how to get out of them quicker. But then things start to go good. And then maybe 1 year, 2 years, 3 years in, all of a sudden now you're kind of running the business again. You're out of the newness, right? You're out of that startup phase and you're back to where you were 3 to 4 years ago in that old business or old job. You're frustrated, you're maybe stagnant, you're in default mode because what got you here isn't going to get you there, but you're afraid to make decisions. You're afraid to change what's worked to get you to that spot in your life or your business. And so then we have one of 2 choices, right? The couple choices we have is we can just get distracted like most people are going to do. I've done this a time or two, is we go, man, the pain is so hard. I don't want to step in and do those things in that business because it drains my energy in the job I've created for myself. And so then we start to get distracted. Now we can get distracted in multiple ways. I'm going to introduce you to some of those ways on the next visual here. But you get distracted in your vices, right? You get distracted in new business opportunities. You get distracted and you take your eye off the ball of solving the problem of that business. What I encourage us to do instead is to get refocused on a new vision, on a refreshed vision to take us forward into the future, to innovate in that existing business, to make it exciting again. But the question is, how do we do it when we're right there in that point, when we're right there in that point of frustration, of stagnation, of default mode? How do we do it? Well, after going through that a couple cycles, a handful of cycles, I started finding what worked and what didn't work for me. And I'm going to introduce to you what worked and what did not work for me. And so, what I would really encourage you to do is, if you are on the podcast version, listen to this through, but head over to YouTube. Like I said, look me up, because I've got a visual here that you're going to want to see. This could completely change the way that you think about life, about getting out of ruts, about getting up into transformation. Could completely change it. So listen to this all the way through, get the auditory version, then go and get the visual version. Okay. So we already talked about that path, right? You're excited, you have energy, you have clarity. It takes you upwards. 2 to 4 years in, you start to get in that stagnation again. The success that you had now starts to wane. It gets harder. And then you're forced with decisions. It's either indecision and we get distracted, or it's decision and we move up. So you're all going to start here on the left, right? That's where you currently are right now. But we're all moving in some direction, right? So we're moving towards some other path in the future. And the 4 paths, I'm going to argue, and I didn't make this part of it up. I want to be fully transparent. I saw someone draw out these 4 paths I'm going to introduce you to, and I started to bring them into my life. But then what I started to add to it is, I think, what really makes the magic. What we started to add to this is what truly makes this work and drives the unlock, is my innovations on top of the 4 paths. All right. So we've got transformation. Okay. That's the first thing right there. Now, transformation, what is transformation? Transformation is when we transform or really change in one part of our life. And the 6 parts of life that I look at, I call them the 6 F's. The 6 F's are this. Okay. The 6 F's are faith, family, friends, finances, fitness, and fun. Now, those aren't in any particular order. It's just the order that I tend to write them. But that's the success. And what I'll tend to do is, on a quarterly basis, I'll do like a quick little audit, a 1 through 5. A 1, man, that F couldn't get any worse. A 5, that F couldn't get any better. And then I focus on growing in the areas I want to grow in, and amplifying the areas that I want to amplify. Now, the challenge is, sometimes you'll get to a spot in life, like I said, where you're in default mode, you're in a rut, and you just want to get out of it. Well, I'm going to pick 1 or 2 of those F's every single year to move up into in transformation. So I say we reach up into transformation once every year, once every 18 months, depending on what it is, where we want to fundamentally transform that thing. Okay. You probably remember the time in your life where maybe fitness wasn't important to you, but you had something happen, a health scare. You were down in here on the bottom of this matrix, which is failure. Okay. That's one of the 4 paths at the bottom. On the opposite end of the spectrum of transformation is failure. So maybe you had a big health scare, and that snapped you into recognizing, oh my gosh, I need to raise my standards, and I'm going to do something different on the health side. And you got in shape, you got a trainer, you got consistent. Now you've completely transformed. That's what a transformation is. Or maybe you had a business and it did really well for a while, but then it wasn't doing well. And then you had to look at it completely different and say, oh my gosh, we need a full-blown transformation. This business is fundamentally going to be something different. And you're on this path of transformation to completely change who you are, or what that business is. Okay. That's once in a while. But where most of us want to be is in success, right? And we all have a different definition of what success looks like. Success on the fitness side might look one way to you, but it might look a completely different way for somebody else. Or success on the business side might look one way for you versus something different for somebody else. Whatever your definition is, your definition is. But that's where most of us think we want to be. And let's say you reached up into transformation. You got amazing new standards put in place, new processes put in place. You're humming along. But then eventually it's not new anymore, right? You start to it's just the same old thing. I'm not really growing in that area anymore. I'm not transforming. It's success. But then we eventually slide into default mode. Okay. And default mode is the enemy of success. Default mode is the enemy of transformation. Default mode is the very thing that starts to take us what I call below the line. And we've got above the line, which is in the green, and below the line, which is in the red. Below the line is where we want to stay out of, but inevitably every single one of us are going to get below the line eventually, and probably many times in our lives. What this training hopefully is going to walk you through is how to get out of the red zone, out of the below the line, up above the line, and jump up a couple zones more quickly. Okay, so we're in default mode, but the question is, why are we in default mode? Well, we're in default mode oftentimes because we're scared. Right, we're scared to make changes. We don't want to make changes from something that's worked, or we feel trapped. Right, we feel trapped by the thing that we had created. We feel trapped by the routine, or we feel trapped by the coach that we hired. Let's say we hired a fitness coach. We go, man, I don't want to have a conversation with that person, but I feel like I'm stuck. I'm stagnant. We're not transforming. I had a conversation with them. They're not willing to bring new, but man, I don't want to fire that relationship and find a new coach. So you feel trapped in some way. And at the end of the day, you're in indecision. Okay. We start to be stuck in indecision at this spot where we're going, oh my gosh, I've got ideas, I've got options on how to get my mojo back and how to get back to the zone where I'm getting energy. Okay, when we're up above the line, you're getting energy quite often. You have a life of energy. When we're below the line or in default mode, our energy is drained all the time. Okay, so we're in indecision. We're stacking up ideas, but not making decisions. When we let those ideas stack up long enough and stay in default mode long enough, we start to move to the last zone here, which is frustration. Okay, frustration is actually a really, really hard one to be in, because if you've been successful in that previous season, but you went into default mode, you're frustrated. We oftentimes kind of feel like we still are the identity of that successful person that reached that amazing pinnacle, but we haven't came to realization yet that we need to make some changes to truly step up to reignite or upgrade our identity to that next version of ourselves. So we're in frustration, and what frustration manifests in is energy drain. Like I said, more days than not, you're coming home with your energy drained. You're going, why aren't things unlocking yet? I've got all these ideas. I just know how to fix this, but why am I not doing those things? And that's one of the key things that tends to hop up in my life is, the things you got to do, but for some reason you just go, man, I know I got to do that. Why am I not doing that? And it's rooted in indecision. I'm going to show you guys exactly here why. When we stick in frustration for too long, guys, we end up drifting. Okay, we end up drifting. Drift can manifest in multiple ways, but they're usually manifesting in our vices. What are those vices? Well, it could be doom scrolling on Instagram for minutes or hours on end. It could be that 3 or 4 hours of binging on Netflix every single night when you get home because you need to have a release. It could be that drink you're having every day because you need to have that release. It could be drugs. It could be alcohol. It could be overeating. It could be pornography. It could be any one of those things where you're stepping away from the things you know that you need to do. But life and work and business is not giving you energy in life right now. And you're just looking for something to give you that jolt, to give you that feeling again, to make you feel alive for that split second. Right. But drifting, when we stay in drift too long, y'all, leads to failure. Okay. That's where it leads to rock bottom. That's where if we drift too long on the physical fitness side, we miss our workouts, we skip and we eat bad, we step into failure on the health side. We have health scares, or that's where we start to step into relationship failure because we've been drifting so much. Our partner or our employees don't trust us anymore. Or you start to drift into mental failure because you are, or spiritual failure because you are now so wrapped around that social media or the pornography or the alcohol or the drugs that now you are not the same person. You're spiritually failing. So if you're in one of these spots, frustration and drift and maybe even failure, and you've been in default mode, and I want to call you to this right now as you're watching this or listening to this. I want you to seek inside of your heart and ask yourself, where are you really? If you are in one of those spots right now, just recognize it's normal. Okay. There's nothing wrong with you. It's normal. You're a human being. These are normal things. This is literally part of the human condition. But here's the cool thing. You are capable and you get a chance to move out of it. And when you come out of that, life is going to be so much sweeter on the other end of it because you've recognized the challenges. Now we have better context for gratitude when the challenges aren't there. Okay, you have an amazing opportunity to use this challenge, to use this trial to help you build you into the person that's capable of living the life that you want. Okay, so step one with this, if I were to say the 3 steps, step one is to remove your vices. We're going to be eliminating vices. Okay, so that's step one. Eliminate vices. Now, this video, this podcast is not about eliminating vices, but I'll give you one example of something that I did. There was a time when, just even recently, this past year, where I found myself not able to get mentally clear to make the big decisions. Okay. Up here to get above the line, we need to make decisions. Okay. We need to make decisions. I wasn't getting mentally clear enough because I was going to my phone all the time. I was spending hours a day on social media, and I would find myself going on to Instagram to look for one thing, and I would literally be at it scrolling for 20, 30, 40 minutes. Then I would go home and put my computer to the side and watch Netflix with my wife for a couple hours after the kids were in bed. And I would think there's nothing wrong with that, right? At that time, I'm like, oh, there's nothing wrong with that. I need a release. But what I found was that very thing was allowing me to step away from my responsibilities, not allowing me to get clear mentally so I could actually design and get clear on what I actually wanted in my life. So the way that we get out of this is we eliminate our vices. So I put on an app called Opal. I eliminated my screen time, put in unlock rules where I can only unlock certain things 3 to 4 times a day. I have limits on there where I can only be in Instagram for 15 minutes at a time. And over 2 weeks, it completely changed my brain. My brain was completely rewired after eliminating that vice. And I couldn't tell you how clear and how excited I started to become about the future again. Okay, so that's the first step, is eliminate your vices. Look at that number one thing that you go to that does not serve you in life, that if you eliminated that and you fill it with amazing things in your life, it could completely change your energy in your day forever. Okay, that's the first step. The second step then is design. We want to get then very, very clear on what it is that we want to move towards now. We know what we don't want because we're in it. We want to move towards something new. And that's getting down a vision. So I'm going to give you a video at the end of this episode that really walks you through how to craft your life vision story. So keep on this YouTube video, or if you're in the podcast, head over to YouTube. So we're going to link up directly the crafting your life vision story video that I did that walks you through my process and how I get insanely clear of the design I want in life. What is it that I want to live? Because when you get crazy clear on that, that's when we get excited. That's when we have something to move towards. And just like I always say, your vision drives every decision. If we're not clear in our vision, then we will step into our vices. All right. Then the third step after this is to make decisions. Okay. So once we have a design in place, then we need to make decisions. We need to look and go, okay, here's the design. What are the options I have now to make to move towards this design? So if you're wanting to reach up into transformation, you get clear on, and let's say on the physical fitness side of things, you get clear on what physically fit and healthy looks like for you. What does it feel like? Is there a weight? Is there an energy level? Is there an accomplishment that you'll be able to do after this is all done? Get insanely clear of that design. And then ask yourself, well, what are the options to get there? What can I do to move forward and do that thing? And you might say, well, I can hire a trainer and I can do this and I can do that. And then you can say, okay, great. Here's the design. Here's what I want. Here's when I want it. Here's the person I need to become to step into that. Here's the standards I need to raise because I need to step into new standards because we fall to our standards. We don't rise to our goals. And so then right here, we go, great. Now let me actually make a decision and get out of indecision and let me go do it. That right there will yank you right up in here from below the line and from frustration, drift, and failure up into clarity and design, transformation, and success. All right, guys. So if that resonated with you, I want you to pop a comment in the comments box on where are you at in these 4 paths? Are you right now just cranking and you are loving life and momentum and energy? You're just kicking off. You're in that transformation and success zone. Amazing. I want to know about that. And let's celebrate it with you down below. Right, and then also think about what got you into that phase, because at some point before this, you weren't in that phase. Number 2, let's say you're below the line right now. Maybe you're in default mode. You're not in full-blown failure. You're not really drifting off yet, but man, you're starting to get a little frustrated. Okay, let me know that. Maybe you were in full-blown frustration, drift, and leading towards failure. And you're just going, man, something's got to change. I've been trying to change this for 1, 2, 3 years. It hasn't changed. I don't know why I'm not doing the things I know that I need to do. Well, I explained to you exactly why you're not doing them. Okay, guys, exactly why you're not doing them. If I were to give a 4th step, actually, and I'm actually going to put this right here in between, this just popped up in my mind, one thing that's worked amazingly well. In the eliminating vices section in here, once you eliminate that vice, I want you to get in your schedule right now something that gives you energy and that is life-giving. Eliminate the vice and add something in your schedule right now that gives you energy and is life-giving, because that's going to give you validation validation that all your hard work is paying off because you can live an amazing life right now. All right, guys. So I'm going to run through those again. The 3 steps to get out of frustration, drift, and failure are: number 1, you've got to identify and eliminate the vices you're escaping to. Number 2, schedule in something into your calendar right now that gives you energy, that's life-giving. Make it recurring every single week so you can actually enjoy life again now, not having to wait to the future. Number 3 is that we have to create a design, get insanely clear on what that design is. What is it that we want in our life? What do we want to change? What does it look like? What is the standard? Who do I need to become? Then number 4, we need to make decisions. We can no longer sit in indecision. Write those down, make a decision saying, I'm doing this right now. Here's the dates. Here's the resources I need. It's happening. Make it public, declare it public so other people see it's happening. All right, guys. Hopefully this helps you get more clear on why you might drift off and go below the line sometimes and how to get back up. And like I said, my aim is that not that you'll never go below the line again. We all will. It's that we recognize it sooner, and that now you have a clear path, those 4 simple steps to be able to get out of it. All right, guys. So check out the next video, which is the crafting your personal life vision story video if you want to get amazing at design. And also, guys, hit subscribe here on the podcast or hit subscribe on the YouTube channel if you like this type of content. Let me know below what resonated most with you, and what phase of these 4 life paths are you in right now. We'll talk soon.